Hello, everyone. Welcome on to Branded. This is the podcast that takes you behind the scenes and beyond the brand to give you the clarity and the confidence to challenge the status quo and show the fuck up in your own life. So, today we are chatting with Leah Mitchell. I am so excited to have her here. You guys, Leah is a matchmaking love coach. Oh my gosh. Can I get a hell yes? I'm so excited to have you here, Leah. So, Leah specializes in empowering high achieving women to manifest the relationship of their dreams with expertise in dating and relationships. Leah seamlessly blends her healing modality with a signature dating strategy, helping single women to manifest from their feminine essence and cultivate their dream relationships. Through her transformative Mr. Right magnet method, Leah guides her clients to attract their dream partner and lead their love lives with integrity and intention. This is so fucking cool. I'm so excited to have you here, Leah.
I'm so excited. This is awesome.
Thank you so much for being here. And let's just get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into the matchmaking love coach realm?
That's a good question. So just to kind of go over my story in like a quick swoop of a story. I really did what all women have found themselves doing at one point, or at least like the women that are in my circle that I'm working with. It's that becoming super shut down based on those past relationships that didn't work out, and you really start to develop this super like masculine characteristic. And it's really like a protective, guarded, natural way of navigating those relationships when you haven't had that perfect story yet. And when I was going through this, it was not working. Clearly it was not working at all. And so I started to get creative because I was like, I know what a healthy marriage looks like. I was blessed with parents with a beautiful marriage. My older sibling, she met her husband and father of her child in grade 6. So it's like I knew what it looked like. And I was like, why is this not working for me? And this is when I really developed, my dating strategy. I did a whole 180 on what I was doing. I really learned how to step into my feminine and show up authentically, which ends up being the most important thing in finding your soulmate. And then I kind of, along this way, I met a woman who was also a coach. Um, Her healing modality worked for my trauma. So I went and I learned it. I got certified in her healing modality. And I built my programs with my dating strategy, the healing modality that I truly, truly believe in. And that's how I kind of got where I am now. And it's really like the women that I'm meeting now they so deserve it. And they just are so, so close and they don't realize it. And it's so cool to bring someone over that mountain and to their soulmate. So that's how I kind of got here.
Wow, I love that. And you're so right, too, when it comes to living in your authenticity, which I feel like that's sort of an ongoing journey that you continuously discover a little bit more of, like your own authenticity. You discover it more and more as you step into it more and more. And 3 years ago, I so thought that I was living my authentic life. Not
Yeah.
even close. Not even close.
Yeah.
And this kind of conversation, like obviously we're talking about relationships, but anybody listening to this, what we're talking about has to do with your entire life, like building a
Mhm.
business, getting a raise at your job. Like it's all of these things you have to work through the shit that's keeping you stuck,
Yeah.
trauma stuff, all of the things, all of the past stories, you have to work through those things. So, actually, before we dive into some of the questions that I want to talk about, would you be willing, which we actually didn't discuss this before we got on, but I'm curious if you'd be willing to talk about some of like what some of these past relationships might have looked like for you in order for you to then take on that very masculine and, put up those guards and those barriers for you.
Yeah. So my first like real boyfriend, I mean, I'm going back to 17, but this one was influential because it brought me into precarious dating. So prior to the precarious dating stage, I was with someone who had recently like grieved a parent.
Mhm.
And so I really used that as the reason why I wasn't being treated properly for a very long time. And I left for university. This person left for university or college in another, like, we were a good 4 hours apart, begging him to come see me, like, begging for attention. I could not understand why he would skip seeing me to go to a party or to see other girls, and I always knew something was going on and I just could never find out. And there was so much that, like, in my heart at the time, I was like, this doesn't feel right. But I kept thinking, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. Like, maybe it's me because all these other girls want him, so it must be me. That must be why, like, he's not coming to see me. And this is actually the kind of person that, this is like a crazy story, but he was supposed to come up and see me. And I was like 4 hours away. So he finally, like, after begging him and him saying, oh, I'm going to come and there'd be a party, he'd like say, oh, now I have to attend this party. And it would crush me. So he finally is like, yeah, I'll come see you. And he gets 2 hours into the drive and he texts me, traffic's too bad, I turned around. And I hysterically start crying. Like, I call my mom, I'm bawling my eyes out. And then he texts me, oh my God, you're crazy. I'm kidding. And he pranked me and he thought that that was funny. And that, I obviously, like, still hung out with him, still was like, oh, it's fine. But I remember that so clearly, being like, something is wrong here if he thought that that was funny, because not a little bit of me thought that that was funny that entire time. And my mom was on the phone being like, why would he do this? And then later, it was, midterms always falls for Canadians, because I know you're Thanksgiving right now. I don't know where you're
Oh,
from.
yeah.
Are you
I'm in Texas. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's Thanksgiving for you right now. Mine was like a month ago. So
Mhm.
that's midterm season before you kind of go home for Thanksgiving, and then you get your Thanksgiving break. So I'm in the middle of first year midterms, okay? Super stressed out. He didn't want to have to come see my family when we went home for Thanksgiving, so he broke up with me in the middle of my midterm.
I mean, isn't that such like what a coward's way out? Like, but that's like he's not alone. So many people are like, "Oh my gosh, it's about to be Christmas or Valentine's Day. I'm going to get out of this relationship because
Yep.
I don't want to have to buy gifts or I don't want to have any
Yep.
kind of expectations." Yeah. Oh man, it's so crazy when you have relationships with people that are like that, when it's like it's just 100% self-serving. It has nothing to do with whether it was you or some other girl. He was going to treat
Yes.
everybody that way.
And that's like the most important point. And then there's the after that. So that was wishy-washy, on and off. We broke up several times. Eventually I was just like, you know what? So many men around here want me. I'm going to say fuck this. And then I did, and I became very precarious in my dating style. I really shut down that emotional, vulnerable, feminine side that got hurt by this past man. And I was like, I can have sex with anyone and I'm not going to get attached. Nobody can hurt me. I'm the cool girl. I'm the unattached girl that, like, every man's always dreamed of being able to hang out with, because she doesn't ask for anything in return. And I did this whole cool girl persona, and it ended up leading me to precarious situations with very dangerous people and lots of trauma.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that my masculine brought me into the most trauma, the most like terrifying places to be. But that experience is exactly why I found my coach, did my energy healing, created a dating strategy. Like, all of that led me to my husband, most importantly. So
Yeah.
it's crazy walking out of trauma and being like, I am equally as grateful for that day as any other day. And
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Trauma is really wild in that capacity that it really has so much that it can teach you. and not just about the hard stuff, but about the really beautiful parts of life too. And it's like, it's such a weird dichotomy that trauma has this ability, but you really can only see the beautiful parts of your trauma if you're willing to actually address it.
Yeah. Well,
Otherwise, it's just a bunch of scary shit that you're like, no, I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to. And you're just stopping yourself. So, what is, so after that sort of journey that you had, because this is a big message with this podcast in particular, is going behind the scenes and really talking to people like, where were you in your life when you decided you needed to make a change and you wanted to make a change?
mhm.
And maybe you didn't really know where to start or who to tap into or all of those things. So, from that particular journey, you ended up finding your, was it energy healing you said? What was what that
So,
journey of healing look like?
so actually, I be after so specifically my trauma, I was sexually assaulted. And when this occurred, and I mean, you can call it like rape, you can call it sexual assault. I always go with sexual assault because I think it's a softer word. And I'm still trauma conscious of like, oh, am I making people uncomfortable? Which is crazy, but it does happen. And I actually did another podcast where we talked about that I was being shy with like naming it for what it was. And so having that experience, I became very like physically unwell. It was very much couldn't sleep, really bad nightmares. I was bulimic at the time and it had nothing to do with my body image. It was that I couldn't keep food down. It was impossible.
Yeah.
Like the only cortisol release I could get was post throwing up. So my body became very quickly addicted to the only endorphins that it could find was post food. So that was crazy because no grade 8 sex education class that talks about eating disorders tells you that. Like I loved how I looked at the time. I knew that I was beautiful. It was not that wasn't the problem. It was that I needed control over my body because someone took it. So I started, my mom was great with like, something's going on. And I never told her really what was going on, but she was like, Leah seems like unhealthy. She can't sleep, all these things. So she got me into seeing a naturopath, which pushed me to my absolute breaking point. Put me on some kind of like yeast diet thing that's supposed to help. And I know it helps people, but where I was mentally at the time, I couldn't function with dieting and stuff like that. It just wasn't going to work. So I went to her and I was like, "Oh my god, like I can't do the supplements. I can't do like the healthy living. I want to die. Like this isn't working." And then she's like, "Hey, I know this lady. You should talk to her." And that was in like May of 2018. I got on the phone with this lady and I never ever threw up after eating again after one session with her. My
Oh my
bulimia was
gosh.
gone in one session. And with the bulimia, I was experiencing severe uterus pain. And that's like your shame and your guilt chakras as well, coming out
Mm.
of sexual assault. That's really normal. So I had like ultrasound after ultrasound on my uterus to try to figure out what the hell was going on. And after that one session, I never experienced that pain again. So I was like, I kept doing this all through university. She was my woman. Her name's Jillian Schlager. She's developed kinetic divination. It's an incredible modality. I went and got certified when I left university, and that's what I do now.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing. Yes. And it really is, the more you become aware of how much your body holds on to everything. Like we're always talking about the mindset, the mindset, the mindset, but like our mind is only like 2%. So like what about all the 98% of you that you're not addressing and
Yeah.
everything that's being stored in your tissues and your organs and all the stuff? Like I know it sounds wild to think about, but it's so true. And I just don't think enough people talk about it. And I mean, clearly anybody that listens to this podcast hears about it all the time because we talk about it. But it's got to be more mainstream in my opinion. So let's get into how you help women find their soulmate, like utilizing some of these modalities. What does that look like whenever you're doing this work?
So basically, what we're I find the gaps. This is what I'm really, really good at is they tell me what they're doing and I figure out exactly what's missing. Now, my dating strategy itself that they're going to apply from the very beginning is based on neuroscience. So, what I'm doing, and it's also energy is a huge component, but really like the women, no, that's bless you. The women that I'm meeting, they want that real emotionally capable man. They want a deeper connection, a spiritual connection. And the thing that they're missing is authenticity. And it's interesting because I made a post about this right before I like talked to you about coming on branded. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to line up with branding so much. But really, how it works in a man's brain is 93% of trust built in your brain and in my brain is based on things other than words. Words only make up 7% of trust that's created. So these women go on to these dates and they're talking and they're sharing and they're being vulnerable and they're looking for reciprocation to see if a man is emotionally capable. The thing is, men don't talk, especially first impressions. They've actually spent most of their life not talking because of their own like masculine hierarchies and things like this. So that 93% of the trust you could be creating is without words. It's tone of voice and it's nonverbal cues makes up 55%. Nobody's talking about this. So on a neurologic basis, what you need in order to create that vulnerable connection, the first thing is trust. So you have to earn a man's trust, and nobody has a man's trust. Let's start there. 97% of suicide rates are men. 97%. Men don't trust people. Men don't talk. I know it goes deeper than this, but a lot of the time men would rather die than talk.
Yeah.
That really shows us our power as creators, as women. And so this is the first step. I'm putting women into their power as a creator of emotional connection and vulnerability. This is what we're good at. We've been talking from the very beginning. You know, I can share something with women and then I hear all of theirs back. And it's so powerful. So it's not just about vocally talking, but it's those nonverbal cues that you can use where his brain registers immediately trust. I can trust this person. And the number one way that this happens is showing up authentically because the subconscious brain, his subconscious brain, can make a judgment based on your body language if you're authentic within 13 milliseconds.
That's crazy.
Right? So on your dating profile, like the apps and that number one first date or interaction with a man, it takes him 13 milliseconds to decide, is this woman trustworthy? And you obviously work on this. Like people lose this inside their marriage, right? People stop talking. People really lose that sense of trust, but it really comes down to those nonverbal cues. Like we could talk about like your pace, how slow down you are, you know, bringing it to the moment, not being, you know, squirrely and erratic and performing in front of a man and worrying what he's thinking, like showing up like, this is me, these are my stories, this is who I am, these are the things I'm proud of, and not looking for reciprocation. Because a man is not going to verbally reciprocate the first 3 times meeting him, the first 5 times meeting him. It really happens as he sees you authentically, that trust really builds. And then you have a man that is comfortable crying in front of you, that tells you, you know, my ego was hurt today, or I had a bad day, or calls you when he just needs to talk because something's like pissed him off or upset him. You know, they tell you all the things that they don't ever tell their parents or have never said out loud. You know exactly the connection I'm talking about. It's so deep, but it's because he trusts you, and that has to start completely nonverbal from the very beginning. So that's the process. Is they learn that dating strategy, and then we start tapping into their authentic self, and they really pull away from that authentic self because of those past relationships, very similar to my experience. And then also all those limiting beliefs, how your mother thought of relationships, the relationship of your parents, society's views of, you know, masculine and feminine and alpha energies and all these different things, and celebrities, like it all ends up playing such a big role in how we view love and relationships.
Mhm.
That's that subconscious reprogramming where the healing modality really comes in. And then that dating strategy is that neurological understanding of how to build trust.
It's so good. And I love how, like, people think that they have to have all of the exterior things on point in order to have the things that they want in life. And it's like, if you want anything to be truly aligned with you and the things that make you happy and be sustainable, right? Like
Mhm,
long term,
mhm,
you have to come from within. Like you have to be able to express yourself in that fully authentic way. And yeah, I definitely I everything you're saying is so freaking on point. Like I am thinking back to 17 years ago when I met my husband. And so I call him my husband, but we are not technically married. I personally, it's a societal obligation that we just don't feel is necessary for us. So we don't do it. We have been together for 17 years and we tell each other all the time that we are choosing each other.
mhm.
And for us, like, honestly, we're more married than a lot of married couples I know.
Yeah.
You probably know what I mean by that. Like, the love and the reciprocation and all of that. But while you were speaking, I was thinking back to like the very first night I ever met him and how it was so different than any other encounter I'd ever had with previous relationships because I mean we were just speaking. It was literally like but it was probably me speaking more than him like you said
Mhm.
and he's just a very quiet individual as it is at least
Right.
out with other people. But when
Yeah.
it's just me and him, oh my gosh, he's a chatterbox now because he knows he can trust me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just so wild to see the evolution of the relationship and how it really does. It kind of starts in those quiet moments that's
Mhm.
where trust is really built. And man, that's just so freaking powerful. Like I so I'm curious why it is that you think that it's easier for like these quote unquote high achieving women, these ladies that are, like you say, they're kind of always performing and they're always out there doing, doing, doing. Why do you think it's easier for them to be single, or why is it more frequent that they are?
So I don't think it's easier for them to be single, but I do think it is frequent because, well, there's this huge thing, and honestly, I get a lot of hate for it even on my own pages. Of I see constantly women talking about, why are successful or why are single women more successful than married women and all this. Okay,
Mm,
first of all, married households bring in 9 times more income than any single woman is statistically. So they're not doing better. On whose judgment are they doing better? Just if we talk financially.
yeah.
9 times more married couples are bringing into their household. So that's a lot more financial freedom, a lot more financial support going on. So, but I see this all the time, these single women are happier, and I actually made a post about this today because it's one of those conversations that makes me sad to see. But the thing is single women are basing what a relationship is on their past relationships. Not what they want to create, what sucked. What
Yeah.
made them lose themselves. When they self-abandoned in the middle of a relationship, and then when it broke off, they had to rebuild from square one because they completely lost themselves because of the way that they were executing the relationship. And I want women to know the reason your heart was broken is not because you opened it up,
Yes.
right? So it's
That's
not
it.
opening your heart up that is gonna lead to, you know, this breaking of it again, but it's doing it differently because just like me, just like you probably experienced, had your heart broken a few times. It's like foundational to creating the woman that you are today in the relationship that you're in. So it's not a bad thing that we had these experiences. Even I have clients that, 10 years of an abusive marriage, and they're still like, I don't want this to be my story. I want something else to be my story. But I think for single women, one, they're super busy. so they have no room for it in their life. So it's like to bring it in, they'd have to give up something that they look at as productive, whereas they don't look at their
Yeah.
love life as productive. And these are productive women. The other thing is, like, did they want to get hurt again and then their business collapse because everything's on their shoulders? When in reality, how I would look at it as, your business won't all be on your shoulders. It won't feel like it if you're inviting love and romance into your life and
Mhm.
support. I even made a post today about just being there. Something, I had a hard day yesterday and I called my husband. He's at work and he gave me 32 minutes on the phone to like cry and freak out. And then like brought it all back for me. And it's just like, I know those women are having those hard days and they don't have someone other than themselves being there. You know, they
Mhm.
have best friends and stuff, but it's not the same. And
Yeah.
they have completely discounted the value of that out of their life and they've justified it because they're afraid of getting hurt. So this
Yeah.
is why it's so easy for them to justify staying single, because it's a way to avoid toxicity and abusive relationships. But also, staying single is the biggest way to avoid your dream love life. Not dating and not putting time into it and investing into your love life, into romance, is the best way to never find it.
Well,
So,
yeah.
right? But it's like logical reasoning for me. But I read the post and I'm like, sometimes people just, they don't see it that way. They see it as, if I invest in this, I'll just end up hurt. Whereas it's like, no, you have to invest in this to get that being there forever, to get that
Mhm.
unconditional love and support. And it starts with basic attraction. And I think the industry has created a fair amount of shame in women wanting men to be attracted to them, which is
Yeah.
insane to me because I'm like, I love how attracted my husband is to me. Like, thank
Right.
God, because I do. I walk around feeling like the hottest piece of ass in the world. And a huge part of that is because he makes me feel that way. And I want him to be that attracted to me. There's no shame in that. I'm not less of a feminist or less of a woman,
Right?
right? But there's these, like, when women came into this wave of feminism, pendulums swing always, and it sometimes swings so far that it's like, now we have to like hate men, go this single life, prove something to everybody. Why don't you prove that you are a wonderful woman that you are, with this wonderful man backing you, and see the love in both sides? You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be one or the other. And I think
Mhm.
it's like popular culture. There's a huge part of like feminism that goes into this idea. So it's really nuanced. But in terms of those single successful women too, they're so in their masculine, doing all the things, making the shit happen because they have to be, because that's how they survive, especially single mothers. They have to be doing, or their kids won't have anything. So they
Mhm.
to do it to survive. And they just get so used to being providing for themselves that they don't make room for someone to provide for them. And a high value masculine man wants a woman who he can provide for.
Yeah. It really is such a unique perspective. Okay, let me take that back. It's not a unique perspective. It is a perspective that I think, like you said, it's kind of gone by the wayside where everybody has now gotten into this hyper feminine feminism kind of thing where it's like, I can do all and I don't need anybody. But you're so right. When you have a hard day, you're not going to sit there and stare at yourself in the mirror and bitch and moan about it. Like,
Mhm.
that's not going to really make you feel better. Releasing it and being able to share those moments with somebody. And it really is about, like, just as with everything in life, making space in your
Mhm.
life for the thing that you desire. If there is no space for it, it will not show up,
Yeah.
period. Like, no matter what it is. If you want a new car, but you don't have a place to park it, your a new car is not going to show up and manifest
Mhm.
itself in your life. Like, it's a fact. And so yeah, I do think that it is a little bit of these high achieving women that they it's almost like it's more comfortable to live in that sense of burnout, almost like it's like relationship burnout where you're like,
Mhm.
I can't anymore, I can't deal with it, I
Mhm.
don't have time or space for it. And so they just don't. But yeah, I mean, as a human, like we need connection with
Yeah.
other humans. It is vital. And I think everybody since COVID can attest to, okay, it's great that we all can work from home now, you know, a good majority of us, but we need human connection. And even like us doing this, having this conversation right now is a form of that. But there are sometimes I will go an entire week without setting foot outside of my house. Like I'll be in the backyard, but like I'm not out
Mhm.
in the world. And
Yep.
I'll get in my car for the first time in like 2 weeks. And I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, Sarah, like you need to get out of the house.
Yeah, you
But it's
forget
the
to
same,
drive. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with relationships. Like it can feel incredibly uncomfortable. And I can't even imagine dating now, like after
Yeah.
being in a relationship for 17 years. And I mean, I was 19 whenever we met and he was
Yeah.
20. So, you know, we were babies. But it was one of those things where I had a previous relationship at a young age. And I knew that I wasn't evolved enough to stay in that relationship. Like I could physically feel myself that I would change and that that relationship wouldn't be good for me anymore. But then when I met Adam, we've been together 17 years, there was something about him that I knew that I could change with him. Like it was just this unspoken
Yeah.
trust, I guess, is what it was, that I just knew that, yeah, I'm only 19. And yes, I'm going to be incredibly different when I'm in my 30s. But there was something about him that I knew that I could trust, that we would grow together. And that's really like, we've seen it every 5 or so years where it's like, I rise and then he's like, wait for me. And he comes too. And then it's his turn and he rises faster than I do. And I'm like, okay, let me come and match your energy. But I think, you know, finding that in another human can be really a fantastic way to continuously evolve for yourself without getting stuck in the grind and all the things. Yeah. So you mentioned attraction, and I want to talk about like how is it that you help these women start changing their attraction?
Mm. Okay, so I am working on actually trademarking this, but the
Exciting.
Ferraglow method is a method that I use based on pheromones. So the science behind pheromones is really simple. The pheromones that you are putting out are very much based on your like neurotransmitters, so your oxytocin, your serotonin, and your dopamine. Those are your like love hormones, your happy hormones, that kind of stuff. So when you are putting these out, you actually attract someone very similar to energy and frequencies based on that same, like men and women look for chemical compatibility. So your actual like what you're putting out is compatible with someone else. So the first thing that we do in terms of attraction is let's boost those pheromones. Because even if you're still struggling, like energy healing, you'll know this is a process. And my biggest pet peeve in this industry is people saying you need to love yourself before someone can love you, or you need to get to a certain point in your healing journey before someone can love you. Because just like the point you made, you have fucking changed since you met him. I've done more healing in the 5 years I've been with my husband than ever before. I have grown more self love, less self love, more self love, less self love. Yesterday, I struggled with my self love. Who helped me through that? Who was there for me? My husband. So, this it also creates the idea that we need to be perfect in order to deserve love, which has women showing up on dates performing as someone they're not because they're hoping that they try to be perfect.
Such a good point.
Right? So, it's like doing this try to be perfect thing, it's going to lower your pheromones. You're actually going to end up attracting somebody with low pheromones, which is a low value person that you don't also want to be, or they're still stuck in low value behaviors. Because personally, like I don't even like the words emotion, emotional unavailability.
Mhm.
Everyone has that capacity, unless we're talking about like straight narcissists or sociopaths or something that is an outlier. Men have emotional capacity. They are emotionally available. It's creating that safe, trusting space to bring it out. And this would be the first time for most men where it comes out is being with a woman that they trust. Because even when they trust men, they don't share these things.
No,
So,
yeah.
right? So it's like the Ferraglow method, it's boosting those pheromones so that you're attracting someone on that same higher wave that's also loving their life, loving romance, enjoying, because that's the person that puts in effort. That's the
Mm.
person that wants to please you. Whereas somebody with those lower pheromones where they feel like shit all the time, like they're not going to have the capacity right then and there to put in effort because they're not even doing it for themselves. So the first thing we do is really boost those pheromones so that their attraction is up there. And I teach them how to get into that feminine, which goes with that pheromone glow. Because if you want this really masculine man, you can't be showing up on dates out masking him. Because
Yeah.
it's just like this weird thing. And I used to do that. I used to do that all the time, like to the point where I was emotionally unavailable even in sex. Like it meant nothing to me. So I was completely shut down. But just in terms of upping these pheromones, one of the best ways to do it, and it's like a annoying thing for people to hear, but it's have fun. Because if you don't have room for fun in your life, your business is not going to do that well. Your self care is not going to do that well. Your romance and your love life is not going to be that good. Like, literally having fun is going to up that pheromone. Going to yoga, sweating it out, feeling in your own body, going on a walk, being outside, doing things that make you happy. I love to cook. So when I cook, my husband's addicted to me. I know he loves the food that I'm cooking, but he can't stop like coming over and touching me, because I'm in the kitchen. He loves it. It's sexy to him, but it's because I'm in my zone. Like I'm in
Mm.
my realm. I like the more I go out and I see my horses and do stuff that I love and I'm authentically myself, my pheromones go through the roof and he can't help himself. And that's really like a huge part of it. I have a client who's like, Leah, since we've done the energy healing and I've been implementing the Ferraglow method, I smell fucking fantastic. Like people can't stop telling me how good I smell. And I'm like, are you wearing a perfume? And she's like, no, like what? I'm like, yes, like it
Oh my God, I love it.
changes what you're putting out. It's so crazy.
That is so awesome. And so many golden nuggets in that right there. Like understanding you don't have to be perfect in order to start taking action, right? It's just the same thing as like saying, I'll start my weight loss journey after the holidays. Like,
Mhm.
why would you wait? Why would you put off something that you want, that you desire? Today's as good a day as any.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, it may not happen if you wait. So, yeah, I mean, I think that I could just imagine having like that conversation with myself if I was somebody who was dating and being like, oh, you know what? This week's not a good week for me. I'll wait till next week. And then before you know it, it's 3 years later and you're still single.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. And to the message of like having fun, seriously, it is a game changer. And I tell myself this all the time with like my business. Anytime I'm feeling a little bit stuck, I'll just be like, all right, it doesn't matter what the deadline is. I need to remove myself and change my energy. And I need to go do something that like actually makes me happy. I'll go meditate. I'll go play with my dog. I'll cook. Like, honestly, cooking, that is something me and my husband absolutely love to do together. And when people watch us in the kitchen, like when we have a little dinner party or something and we're cooking in the kitchen together, people will always say every single time, they're like, you guys are like a symphony together. Like we don't
Hi.
even have to speak. We're orbiting around each other and
Yeah.
creating this space where it's like, okay, I know this dish needs to get cleaned. Oh, this needs to be stirred. It's just this nonverbal communication that we have in the kitchen. It's like really fucking powerful in the kitchen for us.
And that actually builds a large portion of the trust you have because you both have mirror neurons. And when your mirror neurons are in sync, it's hitting your reward centers, and the reward centers in your brain or your nucleus accumbens. What's really happening is these are your reinforcements of positive stimuli. This is why you keep going back to each other constantly. Keep cooking, keep doing these things together, keep wanting to like touch each other, those things. It's because when you're doing it, you're in sync. Those mirror neurons are going off. It's activating that reward center, and you just want more and more and more. And really, like one of those, a girl could take this into like that first part of dating. get him to mirror you. If you slow down, if you get in the moment, so will he. And that will feel really fucking good for him. It'll hit his reward centers in his brain and it will make him want a second date immediately. It's
Yeah.
reinforcing positive stimuli.
I love that. And honestly, I could talk to you about the science of this like all day long. And I know we've only briefly talked about the science, aspects of it, but I could listen to that kind of stuff all day. Like I'm gonna have to dive into your group and see all the things. Okay, so I want to wrap this up with a little bit of a somewhat taboo topic, right? Dating apps. Love them, hate them, all the things. I can't even imagine using a dating app, to be honest. It kind of freaks me out, but they are so popular. And honestly, there's thousands and thousands of success stories. So, like, how do you feel just in general? What is like some of the best ways to really, truly like meet a soulmate?
So most people, you're right, they don't like dating apps. They come to me and they say, I want to meet a man organically, and then they don't go anywhere.
Right, you got to get out of your house.
Problem, huge problem. So I'm like, okay, so if you are a busy woman, if you like, honestly, boundaries with dating apps are the most important thing. You only need to be on there 30 minutes a day. Like, don't push it because you're going to burn out. Dating app burnout is a real thing. Matches are like likes on Instagram. If we're not getting them, we feel like shit. We feel abandoned. We feel rejected. And then we quit altogether. And then we also quit dating altogether for like 3 more years. And then we find ourselves single again. So really, I met my husband on a dating app. So
I love that.
yeah, on Tinder. And it's absolutely crazy because I saw a picture of him and then I figured out his approximate location away from me and his age away from me because I knew his mutual friends and I'd never known he existed before this. I changed those filters on Tinder and I found him in 3 swipes. And then now we're married. So it's crazy.
That's
How
awesome.
intentional you can be, but it's really about being intentional with those dating apps. I tell women, if you want to meet high value men outside of dating apps, you need to go places where they are, events, the restaurant of a high scale hotel, nicer gyms. Like, these are where those men are. But now you're also walking into it like, I don't know if he's married. I don't know if he's this. I don't know if he's that. Okay, hop on some dating apps then and really have boundaries around your time that you spend on dating apps. Make sure that your photos are as authentic as fucking possible because, again, 13 seconds or 13 milliseconds is all it takes for him to see a photo and decide if you're a hookup because he doesn't trust you or if you're an authentic woman and your wife material, right? Like, these things matter. So dating apps, I think, are great. Honestly, my clients are loving them when they've never loved them before. I have a client that did 3 years on dating apps, no success. We did 1 month together, and she manifested her soulmate on the dating app, matched him. They're living together. She is
Oh my
loving her
gosh.
life. So it's like, you can hate them all you want, but they're the easiest way and they're the most commonly used thing because there are other men that are running their own businesses that have no time to go out either, but they would make time if they met like a really nice, authentic looking woman on a dating app. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's honestly like, suck it up, tough love, honey. Get on the app, put some hot as fuck pictures of yourself on there, get a damn good bio that makes it easy for him to take you out. Like, tell him the things you like to do, and then he won't need to talk to you for 3 days to figure out what date he's going to take you on. And
Yeah.
drop in and be like, yo, I love Mexican food too. Let's go do it. Okay, great. Now you're on a date. And like, you
Yeah.
can line up dates. You can have this on rotation, and then you're left with the best of the best.
Yeah. And, I think what you touched on right there is intention. Like that will change everything for you
Mhm.
in dating, in business, in life. When you show up with intention and you say, okay, this is what I like to do. This is what will make me happy. And it's not like it's all me kind of game, right? But when you're showing up in this capacity where it is very one sided for someone to just sort of preview and make a decision, you have to be 100% authentic. And you can't be putting shit in your bio because you think it's going to attract the right person. No, you don't want to attract everybody. You want to attract the right person. And that goes hand in hand with building a business online. I know you hear this all the time. It's the same kind of messaging when it comes to attracting your dream client. It's the same thing as attracting your dream partner. Like, you have to be very specific and intentional with what you want and what you want to get out of it, what you want to put into it, all of the things. Because yeah, I mean, I think it is, it's like a lost art whenever it comes to the first impression. So many people have gotten away from truly just being themselves on that first impression to instead trying to be a reflection of like the trend that is happening in that particular moment. That's fleeting. Why? Like, you're becoming Where's Waldo? You're just contributing to the noise instead of standing out and being able to like have somebody see you and be like, holy shit, where did this person come from?
And you're going to attract a man who's doing the same thing, and you'll think you'll know him, and you'll spend months together, and then he'll turn out to be a totally different fucking person than you knew.
Right.
But that person, like you are too, as the woman hiding behind someone she's not. So it's really bad for your attraction. Like, number one is intentionally be authentic, and then it will happen for you. And for the masculine natural women, like the women that are in their masculine all the time that are listening to this, stop messaging first. That's your first filter. All men can reply to you, hey, what's up? All men, every single man has the balls to reply to a message. Not all men have the balls to send a message. That's your number one filter. Don't take that out of your pocket by getting ahead of yourself and messaging all the men. See which ones message you. Those are higher value. Go for those ones.
Ooh, that's a good tip right there. Oh my gosh. Okay. This has been such a fantastic conversation. I'm going to put in the show notes for you guys how you can connect with Leah, because she's got an incredible Facebook community that is going to help you dive into this more and more, and obviously has really phenomenal programs and everything that she's helping her clients with. So I will put the link in the show notes for you to connect with her inside of the Align with Your Soulmate Society Facebook group. And I'm going to get myself in there because I'm not looking for a mate, but that doesn't mean I can't learn. And it doesn't mean that a lot of the stuff that you're talking about can't be applied to like other aspects of your life. You know, when it comes to attraction, intentionality, authenticity, all of these things, right? What is the phrase? How you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yes.
So I will definitely get that in the show notes for you guys, because what a fantastic way to start to attract, you know, your ideal partner and live your love life with intention and integrity. So anything you'd like to share with us before we sign off for today?
No, I think I'm good. This was amazing. This is so like on brand with your brand, you know, how you show up authentically for your brand and you create more authenticity consistently. So don't beat yourself up if you don't feel like you're authentic right now. I feel like I made a huge hurdle last week about showing up in my content more direct and not fearing what people will think. And it's just a constant process. So just enjoy the process, let it happen. Don't put so much stress on yourself. And thank you so much for having me on your show. This is awesome.
Absolutely. We'll have to talk about getting you on again and maybe talk about all the science behind it. Like, that would be such a fun episode. But I mean, at least for my like geeky science brain, I guess. Awesome. All right, you guys, head over to the show notes, get connected with Leah, and until next time, see you later. Thank you so much for listening to Branded, the podcast. Please rate and review, and for more information, visit socialjanemedia.com. I'll see you soon.